I got these kids, like they didn't ask to be here, you know, a home where it's an absent parent, and now it's up to me to make up for that. You have to act like what you want. You can't want to be loved and then you're pushing love away, or you're not loving.
Welcome everybody to the highly anticipated and could never be duplicated first episode of Steel Toes to Stilettos. I'm your host, India Sage, and I am here with the lovely, beautiful Miss Cheris Monique. Can we get a round of applause? Cheris, it is such an honor and an excitement to have you here sitting with me. Thank you so much for being here. How are you feeling?
Oh my gosh, excited. Highly anticipated, like
Yes.
you said. Yes. I feel great. I feel wonderful.
And you look good.
Thank you. You look good too.
Wait, hold on. Let's get into the outfit, the details. I see the YSL on the pump. Hold on. So what brought together this ensemble? What's the inspiration?
Okay, so I always got to give a little sexy. Maybe a lot of
sexy.
a little bit of edge, and just a little bit of simplicity. That's how I like to bring it.
Yes.
You know,
And
not too much,
that.
just enough. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And you know what? It's a monochromatic moment right now happening. Diddy, Lori Harvey, all the stars. So I feel like you are just in season. So you look great.
Red, crime season, killed it.
Killing
it.
So listen. The reason why I asked you that question, right, is because I know who you are as a woman, as an entrepreneur, as a creator, as all the things that you are, and that's the energy that you give off to me, right? But that is just the surface level of who you are. Today is all about you. Today is all about learning more about your brand, because there's so many people that have started to learn more about your brand from you going viral a little bit, right? When you, introduced yourself to the world as Mrs. Jones, because it's giving married, right? And so people wanted to learn more about you and basically like, where did you come from? Who is this woman? So that is what this conversation is about today, okay? And Steel Toes to Stilettos obviously has a much deeper meaning, which we're gonna get into.
It does, yes.
But before we get there, I wanna break the ice with you, just sharing with people something that they don't know about you in terms of something that someone underestimates about you, but you know that you're that girl in it.
I really feel like, Indy, I feel like that I have not been able to really I haven't been able to show my full potential until now. And people have gotten to see bits and pieces throughout my whole life of, oh yeah, she's good at this, she's good at that. And in all actuality, I'm good at a lot of things at the same time.
You're a multi-hyphenate.
Yes. So right now, I feel like people have underestimated me, my whole makeup, because you have seen me do different things at different times, maybe one thing at a time. And in my mind, in my life, I'm like, I'm good at a lot of things because I do a lot of different things. So I feel like I'm just estimated as a black female in, today's society. But that's why we're here today, you know what I mean? And that's one of the things that I am aiming for. That's my mission, that's my purpose. So people can start to live in their full potential. Females can start to live in their full potential, because I ain't the only one. I'm not the only one who feels like this.
Yeah,
so.
for sure. So let's hop right into it. Who is Miss Cheris Monique? Who are you?
Well, Miss Cheris Monique is just a girl from Wilmington, Delaware, born and raised here. I'm a mother. I have 3 sons. I have 3 grown boys. I'm so happy to say that I'm proud of my sons. I am a business owner. I'm a confidence coach. I'm a licensed social worker. And before I got to be all of those things, I was a girl just who had dreams and visions. A regular girl who had dreams and visions and wanted to not give up on those dreams and visions.
Yeah.
I'm just like you. When you say, who is Cheris Monique? I'm just like you. Just a regular girl from around the way, you know what I mean? With dreams and goals, who is not gonna let up on them.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
I like regular stuff. I like ordinary things like you like to do, you know what I mean? Like you out there like to do? I like to go shopping. I like to travel. I like to chill with my friends.
Well, don't tell them too much. Don't
Okay,
tell them
all
too
right.
much, right?
Okay.
Let me dig in a
All
little
right.
bit.
Okay.
So when I got the opportunity to meet you, I met you at a very pivotal moment in your career and in your transition. You were redefining yourself as a woman and as a brand versus just that everyday, round the way person that
Yes.
your environment, your family and friends knew you as. And this was pretty much like your opportunity to kind of let people into who you are more in your story. So that's where I want us to start, like taking back to how did we even get here, right? Like before Cheris, had her first son and, she was basically like inundated with the task of being a mom and being all these things extra. Who were you before that?
I was just a girl from Wilmington, and for me, my journey, it was very transformative, if that's a good word to how to put it, because what you see now today is not how I always felt. It's not how I always looked. You know what I mean? And what I mean was back then, when I was younger, before I became a mother, I was young. I had my first son when I was 18 years old. So when you say before you had your first son, like I was a teenager, I was 18, so
Trying to figure out
trying to figure it out. So when you was like, who was I don't even freaking know who I was back then. When you say, when I go back that far. So
you were still discovering who you are. And the reason why I'm bringing us to this point is because a lot of people right now are in their journeys of trying to figure out, who am I?
Who am I?
Where
Yes.
do I go from here?
Yes.
What is the next step? What is the next opportunity? Or is my reality that I see in my head, my visions and my goals and I see in my head, is it real? Can I attain it? That's where I want you to take us, right?
Well, let me tell you something.
How did that happen?
Let me tell you something. Before I had my first son, I had already had a dream to be a model, right?
That's
I
right.
wanted to be a model.
That's right.
And I attribute this feeling like I could do it to, I had an older cousin who was modeling. I had a male cousin, he was modeling, he was traveling, and he was my real inspiration because he was doing it. Now, mind you, we're in Wilmington, Delaware. This is not the demographics for artists, for fashion, for entertainment, you know what I mean? So for us, for a person like me and my cousin who was modeling, we got to really get it from the muck. We got to really, really go hard, you know what I mean? Our path, our struggle is a little bit different in that term. So I really wanted to be a model before I had my first son, and it was like, I remember being like 15 years old, pulling out the telephone book. Remember the telephone book? Oh my goodness, the telephone book. I remember pulling out the telephone book in my mom's bed, looking through the yellow pages, looking for modeling agencies, because this was something that I really, really wanted to do. How I was gonna do it, I don't know. But it was something inside of me that was like, as a young girl, you know what I mean? Trying to figure out who I was, not knowing who I was, not even understanding life, period. It was just something that was just in my heart. So, yellow pages, boom. So from there, that was this embedded in me, that was embedded in me. And I had an opportunity to model for this gentleman who was from the West Side, and his name was Stephen Leatherberry. And people who are from Wilmington, who are from the West Side, in my era, Stephen Leatherberry. He came out with this clothing line called Future Black Billionaires. He was one of the first people who I can remember in our city who came out with their own clothing line. Now they're everywhere. Everybody has their own t-shirt business, clothing line, but he had a clothing line, Future Black Billionaires, and we went to the park up on the West Side, and he made a little janky backdrop, his little cheap camera, and he took pictures and he plastered those things all around Wilmington. And people start saying, oh, you model. And that's how I became Cheris Models, like Cheris the model. Now, I wasn't necessarily looking at myself like I'm a model now, but
It's funny how other people
Yes.
can look at you and see more for you than you might even see
from
when you look
myself.
in the mirror.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how it started for me and how I started to figure out who I was, you know what I mean? Because that gave me a sense of identity now. Now I'm just not this girl in Wilmington who
Has dreams but can't do nothing with
can't do nothing with them. Nobody even knows my dreams. Nobody even knew my dreams at that moment, but it was more than, I was just more than just a regular person, because back then, can you be more than regular in Wilmington? Is it possible to be more? Is it possible to be somebody coming from Wilmington, Delaware? Back then. Now it's a whole different story. We done changed the game. We game changers now. But back then, you know, I'm speaking of, and this was the early 90s. I'm speaking of the early 90s. So that was really what kind of stamped my identity and where I wanted to go, you know, in my life, because I didn't know what I wanted to do at 17 years old. Not even really thinking about what I wanted to do, not even caring about it, to be quite honest. You know what I mean? Like, I was young, I'm just really trying to just be a teenager and just have fun, I guess.
And then that somehow grew into you landing opportunities in New York, doing New York Fashion Week, working with
Oh my goodness.
TV shows. How do we get there from just doing something in your hometown to now it's like, okay, I have to take a risk. There's
Yes.
more here for me,
Yes.
but I have to take a risk.
I'm glad you said that, because that popped in my mind when you were saying, you know, who were you before you became Cheris Monique? And how I became Cheris Monique was not being afraid to take these risks. Now, I be having to ask myself sometimes, and like, how did you get like this? Like, what is in you that makes you
Go for it.
go forward?
Because everybody
and
doesn't
take
go
yes,
for
and
it.
take these risks. I
Yeah.
was like 20 something years old, 18, 19, going to New York by myself. You know what I mean? I did some crazy stuff by myself. Like, girl, you could have been killed. I was on that turnpike. I was meeting people, talking to people. They was like, oh, go down the street and around the corner, they're having an audition. And I go around the street and around the corner. What? I could have been in somebody's alleyway, but I was not scared to take those risks at a young age and go chase my dreams and go after them. And because I was doing that, every time I went to New York, I met somebody. A new connection. I did more work by my own networking than my own agency or my own management, you know what I mean? And that was just through networking. But those risks, it was the risks that I was willing to take and not be scared. Say F my job, because I was working, but it was like, I gotta go to this audition, F school, you know, I had to stay in school a whole extra year, because if they said something was going on in New York, I'm going, I'm there.
So for people that are afraid to take those risks and are afraid to jump out and just try, what do you say to them?
What I would say is, if you're trying to get to a point where you're trying to get over the fear of the risk, you probably need to dig a little bit more deeper into yourself. You know what I mean? Before you start learning how to take risks, you probably need to do some work on yourself before taking the risk. You know what I mean? It might take a little bit more self-work on yourself, so you're not scared to take those risks. Maybe you might want to do a little bit more research on that thing that you're trying to obtain, or that goal, you know what I mean? Maybe you might want to, you know, start a little bit more smaller, you know, on a smaller scale.
And not be afraid to start small. Everybody,
Yes.
I feel like, especially now more than ever, we are in an era and space where everybody wants to start off at the top. But if you start off at the top, where else do you have left to go? I was just talking to a friend of mine when I was in Atlanta, and we were talking about how, you know, right now, like, people can pay to be featured in magazines and articles, and those things are great when it comes to building your brand and impressing those things, right? But when you skip from not doing the work and then being featured in Forbes just because you could pay for it, you miss all of the elements of the foundation of who you are,
Yes.
the building of
Yes.
the dream, the
Yes.
struggle,
Yes.
the little moments that you
Yep.
were just sharing with us about
Yep.
just starting in a park, and then now I'm in New York Fashion Week, and then now I'm on, you know, this TV show. We miss all of that part because you just jumped. You was too afraid to start small. So I love hearing you say that, because it is really reflective of what it takes to get to where you're trying to get.
I didn't know I was starting small though. Like
You just thought you were starting.
I just thought I was starting, and I'm 40 something years old now, y'all. I'm going to be 46. We're talking about when I was like in my 20s. And what I am realizing now is that everything that I have been through from then to now has prepared me for now.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I was really prepared for the success that I really wanted and yearned for back then. I don't know if I really would have been able to live in my full purpose. Living in my purpose is so much more than the dollar.
That's right.
So it feels so much better now obtaining and crossing off those dreams and goals, because I had to bust a U and go back and get those things that we're talking about. So it feels so much better now than it did, than I could put my bottom dollar on than it would have felt back then if I would have been able to, you know, land these deals and do these things. But I did so much that it was like, okay, you can do it. You can do it.
Speaking about busting a Yui, let's bust a Yui right back to that point in the conversation where you now have had a taste of your dreams, but you're a new mom now. Things are changing. Your responsibilities are changing. The things that you want out of life are changing. The name of this series is called Stilettos to Stilettos, but what does that really mean?
Okay, so steel toes to stilettos basically is 3 words that define my life. Because I was a single mother of 3 children, 3 boys, my boys they all have birthdays coming up. They're gonna be 28, 24, and I just had a son turn 17, right? Because it's real, like, just thinking about it, it's like, dang. Like, so, being a single mom of 3 boys, and I will be very, very transparent. At one point in time, all my son's fathers was locked up. And because I had these dreams, and because I had these goals, it was like, I ain't giving up. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. So, I got my bachelor's degree in 2005, right? And I was a social worker for the state. I was working for the state, and everybody's like, thank you. It's a real deal, y'all. It's a real deal. So, I was working for the state, and it was like, I'm not satisfied with this. This is not doing it, you know what I mean? I'm working check to check. It's not giving. It's not giving. So I had an opportunity I left the state. Let me slow down a little bit. I left the state to pursue my modeling career, right? And I did some stuff, and it really didn't pan out like how I wanted it to pan out. So at a point in time in my life, I had an opportunity to join the labor's union, construction, steel toes, coveralls, hard hat. I'm there. What I gotta do? Because what I do know about this particular industry is gonna provide for my family. It's gonna give me that cushion. It's gonna give me that freedom where I don't have to work from check to check. I can afford to pay my bills and take care of all of my children and don't need, no help from no one. So I was able to join the laborers union. Shout out to local laborers, local union 199. I was able to join the union. And from that point on, I started working in the union. Now, anybody knows any union job, you make good money, right? So that was my meal ticket. And then I would join another laborers union in Chester. And once I went to Chester, I was able to make more money. And again, I was continuously able to provide for my family. I was able to, feel a sense of relief. I was able to make some mental space to go after some of my other dreams and goals, because when you're in a space where you constantly have to, worry about providing for your family, you don't have no room to think about your dreams and goals. Like you don't even have no mental space. You don't have no monetary, coming in to even invest in anything else but your family and your bills just to live and maintain. So steel toes to stilettos represents that transformation of being able to seeing myself in steel toe boots every day. And we worked hard, 6 days a week, 10 to 12 hour days, sometimes 7 days a week. But it was like, we doing what we gotta do. This is what it is, you know what I mean? We're not gonna sit and soak and have pity parties, and that's what you guys out there have to learn how to do. Sometimes the situations that we are in, we created for ourselves. I decided to have 3 children, you know what I mean? Regardless of where, you know, the other provision was at, they're still my children, and I still have to take care of them. So having a pity party and sitting and soaking wasn't what I was getting ready to do. It wasn't an option for me. So steel toes to stilettos represents that labor. You know what I mean? I was in the laborers union, but it also represents the labor that I put into my life, the labor that I put into my family, the labor that I put into my dreams and goals to see these things come into fruition. You know what I mean? So I went from wearing those steel toe boots, and now I got on
a little YSL.
little YSL, you know what I'm saying? So,
but hold on. When you were going through that, like, I want to feel the raw emotion of being in that situation. Like, at the time, did you feel like, to your children's fathers, did you feel like, man, like, I have to hustle, I have to grind, I have to do all of this? And
nope.
What did you feel like? What was your emotions in that transitional period?
Well, I feel like for me, as being a single mother with 3 boys, I feel like for that situation, I was blessed to be in that situation because all of my sons, they have family, you know, which were a great support. My mom always gave me $2,000, and I could always call up somebody and be like, he needs some sneakers. You know what I mean? We need school uniforms. You know, Christmas is coming, birthdays is coming, and I got 3 baby dads. They ain't babies no more, so I'm gonna stop saying that because they're not babies. But I have, you know, 3 boys, and they all have different fathers. So I'm dealing with 3 different families. So to have 3 different families, but to have 3 different families who I can call, and
it was like a village.
Yes, and they will be there for my son. So that was a blessing, you know what I mean? To have 3, and you're dealing with 3 different people, and you know, I co-parent with my son's fathers very well.
That's good.
I did anyway. We don't have to co-parent no more because them kids grown. Like, F them kids. But I co-parent with them very well, and we still get along to this day. So it wasn't like, y'all left me out here, y'all ain't shit.
You feel like you gave them grace, but you were still focused on what you had to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because like I said, like, I didn't have to deal with them. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was my choice to, you know, lay down with them, to have babies by them. So I couldn't necessarily put it all on them. You know,
and
I
I
had to take some
love
accountability.
That's the word, you took that out of my mouth. Because the reason why I asked you that was I wanted to know what your mental and mind state was at the time when you were at that age. That is such it's a tough space.
That young, right?
It's a tough space because you're dealing with so much, you have so much going on, but at the same time, in order for you, and I truly believe this, like even myself, like, you know, I may be a single woman, but I'm not a single parent. Like my son's father is in his life, but I'm a single woman, right? But for me, the period of growth that I've been able to experience has been taking accountability for my decisions and the way in which I act in the relationship, right? Mm-hmm. And so to hear you say that, I think that's so important because when we talk about growth, when we talk about gaining confidence, when we talk about stepping into that woman that you want to become, it's not going to happen without accountability.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that was the reason, that was why I got emotional. That exact reason why I got emotional, because I have to think about, it was the feeling that I had back then, like, whew, I got these kids, like, they didn't ask to be here, you know what I mean?
Right.
They did not ask to be here. They did not ask to be in a home where it's an absent parent, and now it's up to me to make up for that. It's up to me to fill that void. So, and to do it like 10 toes down, lacing up, still toes to the toes, you know, lacing up my heart, like literally and figuratively, like I'm gonna lace on my boots and put my hard hat on, and let's go. And I feel like my children, this naturally by default have picked up on those traits, and now it's in them because they good. And I think they good from this, you know, watching me and learning from others what not to do.
So I had the opportunity to attend Cheris's bridal shower, which was absolutely beautiful. And I had an amazing time just literally seeing you blossom, like the environment that we're in. Shout out to the 12-1 experience because they are on it.
Shout out.
And the entire crew, but anywho. I got the opportunity to really see you blossom, and I think for the first time set in and realize what you were getting ready to walk into. And there was a moment when you were doing your speeches and you said to your cousin, and you were like, I never thought I was gonna be able to get married. When I was however old, 18, 17, and I was at your wedding and you were getting married, and I was like, I want this. You know, looking at yourself 3 kids in, focused on your dreams and your goals, but also having to work. You know, did you ever feel like love was just not a reality for you? Like, ain't no man gonna want me because I got 3 kids and yeah, I'll never get married. What was that? Why did you say that? Why did you say to Chrissy, I didn't think this would happen for me?
I was 17. I was 17 years old when I said that. At her wedding, I was 7. When she got married, I was 17 years old, and I was pregnant with my first son. And that was a that was a triangle. I was in a whole triangle. So that was one reason why it felt so like depressing, like bittersweet for me, because that's what it was. It was like, I'm happy to be at my cousin's wedding, but I'm looking at them, I'm looking at everybody, I'm like, dang, she's got this perfect little family. I want to have that because that's what I really wanted at the time. Like, I was pregnant with my first son, and I knew that from my, like, everybody wants a family. Everybody wants the whole dynamics, mom, dad, baby, you know what I mean? Little white picket fence, house, dog, all that little whatever. So, and I knew that wasn't my situation at the time. It wasn't nowhere near that. And I'm like, taking that accountability, not saying it, but in my mind, just living that harsh reality, like, girl, you're not doing the right thing. Like, babies are a blessing. We're not gonna, like, take that away from babies, but at the same time, you're not making the right choices. You know what I mean? You're not making the right choices, so it was like, dang, like, I want that. But I'm a person who doesn't really dwell in the moment because I have to keep going. Like, I don't handle stress well, I don't handle emotions well, so I like to deal with it and move on. So love for me was like, I don't know. Like, I ain't gonna count it out all the way out.
But I'm not gonna focus on
But I'm not gonna focus on that either. Did I ever think that would happen for me? I don't know, Indy. I don't know.
Well, it's happened.
It happened, but when I, like, thinking back then, it's like, did I ever think I would get married? No. But I was still optimistic about it. Never thought it would happen, but I was still, like, optimistic about it. And one thing about me, which is funny, and you might have heard us say it at the bridal shower, we used to just like pop shit and stuff, me and my friends. We used to be like, yeah, we wifey material, but we're not the marriage type. And we really felt like that. And the reason why we felt like that is because of, not because we felt like, you know, we probably would never get married, but it was like the quality of men that are out there. What we're gonna do is, we're gonna handle y'all like y'all handle us, right? So.
What's that mean?
We like you, but we don't like you like that. You cool, but we ain't into you like that. Like, you gonna be on, we on. You know what I'm saying? Like, we wifey material, but we not the marriage type. So you gonna be what we on. We're not gonna be what you on because
you're controlling the tempo.
We're gonna control the tempo because what I have found, like, prior to that, and that was like a thing for me to come into at some point in time. Like, you know what? I'm the shit.
Yeah.
I'm the shit. I'm the prize. Back then, you know, before Lloyd Hardy even said it. I'm the prize. And then we started acting like it. You know, it became a mind state, but it was not necessarily the mind state that we wanted to have.
Because I was gonna ask you, do you feel like that's really from a more masculine energy standpoint?
It is, and it's a default mechanism. It's a defensive thing. And that's what I learned too. It's all a defense mechanism because we talking about, oh, we wifey material, but we're not the marriage type because we probably thought we would never get married. So we're gonna act like we don't want it anyway. You know what I'm saying? That's what people do. They start to act like they don't want stuff that they feel like they can't never get anyway. So that's what we started doing, and it felt good.
That's the word.
Yeah, people start acting like they don't want stuff that they feel like they can't have, and they really, really want it. So, for whatever, you know, for multiple reasons, we probably, you know, really felt like marriage would not happen. Who was out there worth getting married to?
And that's what I want to know. Well, who are you dating? What's your type? What was your type? Because you got your type. You got your man, your husband, Mr. Jones. Shout out to Damir.
Shout out to Damir.
But
hey, husband, my husband.
What was your type then? Like, were you just dealing with anybody? Like,
it wasn't just anybody.
Who was it? Was it drug dealers?
It was. Come on, at least I put my business out there. Y'all heard me say my baby guys was in jail, right? They doing good though now, y'all.
Okay. They out.
Free the guys.
Free the guys.
But no, listen. So, yes, I am that type of person who likes the excitement, the adrenaline. You know what I mean? Little edge. That was the young Cheris.
Okay.
That was Baldy, because that was my nickname. They called me Baldy, but I don't go by that name. But Baldy like the street dudes.
He was on the edge.
But I always thought I could save him. Like, I wanted to save him. Like, it wasn't like I wanted y'all to stay in the streets and, you know, continue to, you know, do the pharmaceutical business illegally. I wanted to save y'all. That was like always my thing, but then I realized at one point, like, girl, Cheris, you grade just lose yourself trying to save them. You know what I mean?
Which we often try to do
yes,
and help
yes.
others before we help ourselves.
And that was something else that I did, y'all. I had to leave them street niggas alone. Like, I had to leave, and I played defense. I thought I can, like, oh, I'm gonna just dip one dab, I ain't gonna get serious with them. I'm gonna get that with no fun. Nope, that don't work.
Girl.
That ain't work either, though. Cops still ran in my house.
Oh, Lord.
Cause you can't play defense. Listen, somebody need to hear this.
Yeah.
I was young.
Yeah.
I was young. You can't play defense. You're either gonna be in and out. And this was years ago. Now, today, things are totally, totally different. It's real serious now. But anyway.
But anyways, you know, we was talking offline, and you were basically telling me, like, around this time where you were working for the labor union, right? You were doing the jobs, you were making the money, and although you stepped out of the limelight of fashion and modeling and this posh life, right? You were still writing in this notebook of things that you wanted to accomplish, many of which has manifested right now.
Right now, yes.
So talk about that piece, because I want people to understand there's so many layers and levels to this conversation. If you really get into it, you're going to be able to pick up on what I feel like is your curriculum for your confidence building program, right? In terms of, you know, identifying who you are, realizing that you have dreams, working at them, even if it means starting small, building from scratch. Sometimes you might have to take a U-turn. Sometimes you might have to take a detour, but don't lose sight. You can slow down, but don't stop. Let's go there.
Let's go there. Yeah. So 2014, 2015, I am tired.
Tired
of not living in my potential.
Yeah.
That's what I'm tired of. Yeah. Because when you know that you have dreams and goals, or you know that you are good at something and it burns and resonates in your soul and you're not living in that becomes a life of misery. You become bitter, you become angry, you get mad at everybody else who's living in their purpose, and you start hating on them because you ain't doing your thing. So, me being who I am, that risk taker, you know, that person who, you know, I'm gonna at least try. Like, I gotta at least try. Right. If I at least try, then I can have a little bit of satisfaction with that, right? So, I'm getting older. 2014, 15, 16, I'm starting to get older, so now the clock is ticking. I don't have no more time to make mistakes, you know, because, you know, when you're young, you know, you can dibble and dabble. Well, let me try this and see if this works. Let me try that and see if that works. And if it don't work, you can try something else. That time had passed for me. I need to find something concrete. I need to find something legit. I need to find something that I would like to do. I need to find something that's gonna bring me some money. And that's kind of where the Laborers Union is intertwined in that as well. But this journal that you're talking about, it's laid out in this journal. And it was a day that I just sat down and I said I have to write it down and then I'm gonna go from there. And I wrote down several different things. I wrote down what I wanted in my significant other. I wrote down what I wanted in my career. I wrote down with my credit score. Wrote everything down, literally. Like, I wrote down all this stuff, and I can go to that journal still right now and look at the stuff that I wrote down. And from that point on, I put in the work. Like, the things that I wrote down, I start working on those things, and they start coming into fruition. They just start coming into fruition. I wrote it down, I start doing the work, and they start coming into fruition. Literally, I swear to God, I lied to you not. I said I was gonna go back to school, maybe. Go to real estate school, maybe. I had my program, which we didn't talk about yet. I have a program for girls, we didn't talk about that yet. Dreams and goals with that. And from that point on, because I became more intentional.
Yeah.
And that's probably the major key to this. I became more intentional with everything. It wasn't no longer a game. I took everything serious from that point on. Yeah. But that was work that I had to do in me, you know what I mean? Like, you have to get tired of being tired. I was tired of being tired because this is how I felt, y'all. I felt like I was already somebody, but I was somebody in the streets, you know what I mean? Like, my name probably rang bells outside. Like, but that is whack, that's corny. You know what I mean? I wanted to be more than just, oh, Cheris from so-and-so, oh yeah, she hang with those, nah, like, know me for some real shit. Know me for a legacy that has purpose behind it. Know me for something that is substantial. You know me for the meat, you know what I mean? Not, the little crumbs. And that's what I was standing on. So you gotta make your mind up. You have to decide what you want, and that's what I did. I decided what I want, and I went for it. And I had to challenge myself as too, because I know, my own flaws, I know my own weaknesses, and I know how I can hold my own self back. And I did it. I said, bump that. I gotta be somebody. I'm gonna at least try anyway. I'm gonna see what happens.
And then you somehow, some way meet your somebody.
I did.
As you're becoming somebody.
Yep, I did. And I wasn't even looking for him. He wasn't looking for me. I wasn't looking for him. And that's something else that I can, another jewel, I can drop. Don't focus on love. Focus on you. I feel like when you focus on when you focus on yourself, everything else will fall in place in the line. You know what I mean? Like, how you focus on yourself, that's your job to figure out.
Right. So, I want to know, from getting through the hurdle of feeling like, okay, I'm just in this survival mode and I am trying to do something great. I'm trying to create a legacy, to then discovering that, okay, I may not be able to model right now. I may not be able to do the things that I want to do in the ways that I see it, but God has a bigger vision for me, so I'm going to follow that and transition into helping others. Take us there.
Okay, so I always had the dream of being a model, right? We talked about that, we touched on that. And one of my other dreams was to have my own program for girls. So I thought that, I was going to become rich and wealthy. Rich and wealthy off of my modeling career. And from that, I will, start this program for girls and, do, different things with them. But it didn't happen like that. You know what I mean? My modeling career didn't go how I wanted it to go. And that didn't go how I planned it because I had children. I can't get up and go to New York and go to all these auditions because I gotta go to work. I got mouths to feed. I gotta, take care of these kids. I got bills to pay. But once I started this program, it became the fulfillment of not being able to go to New York and model and, be in magazines and, things of that nature. So RAN Role Model Society, that's my empowerment program for girls. The acronym for it is Refrain, Obtain, and Maintain. And the mission is to build confidence and boost esteem. And I do it through TV, fashion, photography, and modeling. So that was my second goal. Like I said, it didn't happen from me making money through modeling, but since my model didn't work, it was like, okay, I'm gonna move on to my next dream. And that was, working with children, helping them build up their confidence so they can go after their own dreams and goals. Because if I would have had a RAM when I was young, I probably would have been much further, you know what I mean? I would have probably been more polished, more just well diversified and ready if you have that role model there, you know what I mean, to pour into you. So that's what RAM was all about. And we did fashion shows, photo shoots. I was able to, pour my career into my program, which was beautiful. It was love. So that's how I kind of turned it around. That's how I turned around not being able to model, because I was hurt about that. I was really heartbroken not being able to, travel and do fashion shoots and editorial shoots and fashion shows with other, models and people who are in the industries. But my program, RAN Role Model Society, it made up for that. And it continues to make up for that till this day. Helping girls, pour into girls, helping girls believe in themselves, helping girls who don't have no confidence, girls who suffer from, the self-image disorder, helping them to get over those things early in age, because we all suffer from some type of image issue, you know what I mean? It's something that all of us don't like about ourselves. And sometimes those things stop us from being great and succeeding and being the best person we can be.
Absolutely, and it's not just about the younger women, but before we get out of here, it's also about what you're doing now with women that are seasoned, women that are, in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, that are still trying to figure it out. I go through your comments sometimes and I see women leaving comments like, well, girl, glad you figured it out because I'm 50 and I still don't know what's going on, right? And that is not obviously any shade to them, because all of our journeys are different and the way in which we learn is different. It's just real. Mm-hmm. And so, now you've pivoted into elevating your platform to serve a demographic of women that may feel like, I don't have time for this anymore. My dreams I ran out. My limelight is no longer, but you are literally living, breathing proof that's not true. It does not matter what age that you are at. If you're willing to take the steps of accountability, of working hard, of willing to grow, it's gonna happen. So talk to me a little bit about that, about just why you feel so passionate now about shifting your platform to serving women like this.
I really enjoy watching people just live in who they are, do the things that they want to do, and be who they want to be. And it's a natural thing. People call me weekly, daily, and they look for my encouragement. They look for my advice. So it's just a natural energy. And for me to actually live it and experience it is unbelievable. It's like a surreal experience. I would have never thought that I would be here today with you, talking about my life. I never would probably have thought that my life would be maybe this impactful to, other people. Somebody was in my inbox last night and was like, girl, you famous. I was like, girl, go ahead, girl. Girl, get out of here. What are you talking about? But it's so important, because how I feel, I want other people to feel like that. You know what I mean? I want people to be happy. I want people to be happy in who they are and what you want to do. And those women who are 40, in their 50s, they have to understand. You have to know that it is not over. I love to say, listen, I busted you and I went back and got those dreams and goals that I left on the shelf when I was 20. It's not too late. I'm booking myself now. Do you know how that feels? Because, at a point in time, you know, in your mental, you be like, oh, they ain't fooling with me. I could have did this, I could have did that, I won't be doing this, but now I'm making it happen for myself. And when you make it happen for yourself, there's a whole new level of appreciation. You know, there's a whole new gratitude that you have for yourself. You know what I mean? Do you know how good I feel knowing that I went back to college? I was never going back to college. One of the reasons why I went back to college and got my master's degree in 2022 is because I didn't like school. And I didn't give my best in school. It was like, I can get something from this degree, but I'm going to prove it to myself that I can do it. In all the ways that I let myself down, I'm going to prove it to myself that I can do it. So it was a lot of things that I did for myself. Everything I did for myself, but maybe that's where you should start. Go back 20 years and see what you put on the back burner, those things that you might have put to the side because you might have was scared. You might have became a mother and had children. You might have became a girlfriend. You might have a lot of insecurities that just hold you back. But we go through life and we start to, you know what I mean, developing who we really are. You said, well, Cheris, who was you back then? I said, I don't know. I feel like I'm really not figuring out who I really am until now. Everybody's journey is not the same, you know what I mean? You might figure out who you are at your age at now, you know what I mean? Somebody else might identify at a different time. Everybody is different. But you have to be receptive to what you're going through. Let me just put it like that. Be receptive to the experiences. Be receptive to your life experiences because they all are going to matter to the ending result of who you want to be. If you want to be somebody, you have to manifest it. That Yui, going back and picking up where I left off so I can end up here today, is priceless. It's priceless. I don't know how I can really put it into words to make you understand it and make you feel it, so maybe it can, you know, put some fire under you so you can say, you know what, if she did it, so can I. My dreams mattered that much to me. Maybe that's what it is. My dreams and my goals mattered that much to me where it was like, you know what, I don't care that I'm this age, I'm still gonna go for it. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna go back and do it, you know? So it feels good to make things happen for myself versus back then waiting for somebody else to make it happen for me. You know what I mean? That's another thing that I can contest to today is, you know, making things happen for yourself. Making your dreams and goals come into fruition, putting the work in, and believing in yourself, having the confidence to do it. It's insane. It's insane. And I'm inspired by, you know, looking at you, watching you, Indy, and you know, everything that you have accomplished in this little bit of time that you just been back to Delaware. So it all matters to your own personal growth. You cannot get to where you're trying to go by yourself.
That's right.
You can't.
And you're definitely not going alone. You have an entire village behind you. I wish I could have went to Mexico with everybody for your wedding, but I did get to see the support that you had in the room and all of the love that was around you, you know, before we leave out of here. For the women that just may feel like, especially as you always say, like, you know, I'm in my 40s and now I'm getting married, right? For the women that feel like, you know, they can't have it all. They can't have the kid and the husband and the career. What is a piece of inspiration, words of encouragement that you can leave them with that reminds them that the path ahead is still bright, the future is still bright?
As long as you still got breath and you living, first and foremost, anything is possible. You have to be what you want. You have to act like what you want. That's real stuff. If you want to be happy, you have to act happy. You can't want happiness and you walking around sad. You know what I mean? You can't want to be loved and then you're pushing love away or you're not loving. You know what I mean? You have to be what you want. That's how you manifest it. You have to speak things into existence. Be what you want, speak things into into existence and have faith. That's another thing about me. I'm spiritually grounded. Spiritually grounded first and foremost. The beginning, the middle, and the end of the day, I am spiritually grounded. Having faith is very, very important. You know, having that relationship with God is very significant, you know, in my life. A lot of things we didn't get to talk about, but there were a lot of things that happened in my life that I leaned totally on God, not knowing what was going to happen. Just putting all my faith into Him and saying, I know you're going to work it out. I know you're going to work it out. I know you're going to work it out. And it worked out. I tried it once. I tried it twice. I tried it 3 times. I tried it 4 times. I tried it 5 times. I tried it 100 times. You don't got to tell me no more times. Just try God. Just try Him. First and foremost, try Him, give it to Him, and let it go. Be what you want and manifest it. You can't want something and then speak the opposite. You can't say I want something and say I'm not going to get it. That's just the bottom line. You can't say I want to be married and say nobody's never going to marry me. You can't say I want to be happy, but then you walk around toxic. You can't do that. You can't say I want to walk in my purpose, but you're not living in your purpose. You have to be what you want. Be what you want, and things will align. They will align. That's how the universe works. If you don't believe me, try it. And when it works, come back and let me know.
Well, there you have it, everybody. From steel toes to stilettos, from our screens to yours. This was the first episode, and it's definitely not the last because we have a lot more to unpack. But before we get out of here, I do want to give a big thank you to the team that allowed us to make this happen today, to the 12-1 Experience, to Tyler Duncan, to Taylor, to Prevail Studios, Lloyd Lenz, and of course, the beautiful ambiance and setting that we are in is sponsored by the Selfie Lab. Until next time, we'll see you guys soon.
In a generation.